Now is 17 minutes past 8, so it's a stomach-churning sight we've seen far too many times over the past year. Raw sewage being pumped directly into rivers and seas.
Now, it's an issue many campaigners have taken into their own hands, so including those at Langstone Harbour, where samples have revealed a cocktail of chemicals in the water. Our environment correspondent, Jonah Fisher, is there for us this morning. Jonah, good to see you. What's not so good to see is the stuff that's in our waterways. Morning.
Yeah, good morning. It may superficially look quite nice behind me, but if you look a little bit closer at your TV this morning, that line behind me, that is a sewage overflow pipe which discharges sewage into the water quite regularly here. There's a big water treatment plant just over this hedgerow here to my left. Now, residents here have been concerned for a very long time about what is actually going into the sea here and what it's done to water quality. And I came to speak to some of them earlier this week and put together this report.
The natural harbours of Langstone and Chichester on England's south coast. Their sheltered waters, an important breeding ground for birds and a popular haul-out spot for relaxing seals. But this is also where raw sewage from Portsmouth is regularly dumped, and locals say they think the water quality has been getting worse.
We'd had a lot more cases of people saying they'd gone into the water and they'd had stomach upsets and ear issues, and we just thought something's not quite right here.
We're out on Langstone Harbour with Bianca and Rob. They were so worried about the state of the water that they formed a group of residents to take samples and then send them off to be tested at a university laboratory.
In the last few years, we've seen more and more initiatives like this one spring up around the country. Frustrated people taking matters into their own hands to try and find out a bit more about what's really happening in our rivers and in the sea.
Right, I'll do it, and then you'll pass me a bottle.
Rob and Bianca now have their answer from last year's testing. Brunel University has sent them a long list of what was found. Each of the 22 sites they sampled at had, on average, traces of 19 different chemicals.
We found metformin, which is a diabetic drug. We have also found trimethoprim, which is an antibiotic, some nicotine, some cocaine, tramadol and naproxen. And tramadol and naproxen are actually painkillers as well. So these are all things that are coming out of people. So the way that they're getting into the water must be through the people, through the water system, through the sewage.
Much of it is likely to have come out of this pipe. This drone footage from 2021 shows it discharging a mix of sewage and rainwater into Langstone Harbour.
You can see an awful lot of wet wipes, there's some net, all sorts of other stuff there.
We took a look at low tide. So far this year, this pipe has flowed for more than 800 hours.
The situation here is that the water companies and the Environment Agency and others have known for many, many years what's in the water and what's coming out, and they haven't done anything about it.
At the mouth of Langstone Harbour, Professor Alex Ford shows us how the geography of the natural harbours keeps the discharged sewage and chemicals close to shore.
It ejects from there and it comes right the way down here, and then the tide turns and it washes straight back up. So these organisms that are permanently there are just living in a cocktail of different chemical wastes.
Professor Ford has been testing marine creatures from the harbours and has found traces of many of the chemicals inside their bodies.
It has the same effect on them that it was designed to have on us. So if you give them antidepressants that were designed to affect human behaviour, they affect the behaviour of these organisms. They will swim differently, they'll behave differently, they'll behave with each other differently.
How worried should we be?
Very. Yeah. We've got to take this seriously, because there are chemicals harming our wildlife now which we banned 30 years ago, and they're still having effects now.
The local water company, Southern Water, sent us this statement. It says, "Our treatment processes already comply with stringent Environment Agency rules relating to the removal of contaminants, and we're working with partners to explore how we can go further." It said improvements are planned for both Langstone and Chichester harbours. The Environment Agency told the BBC that polluting rivers and seas is unacceptable, and that it has been holding the water industry to account on a scale never seen before. So do the campaigners feel they're making any progress?
I do, absolutely. Yes, we've really helped to bring this right to the forefront of everybody's minds. So we wanted to investigate, we wanted to inform, and then we wanted to get some improvement. So we won't stop until we've got that improvement. So I think there's a really long road ahead of us.
The pressure is now on the water companies to show they can clean up their act.
To chat about some of the issues in that report and about water quality in general, I'm joined by Sarah Shreve. You are one of the campaigners who've been taking samples. You're a swimmer here. And Fergal Sharkey, not really sure how to introduce you, Fergal, musician turned water campaigner.
Anyway,
Happy with that?
Absolutely all of the above.
Sarah, just to start with you, you're a wild swimmer. You like going in the sea. We're by Langstone Harbour right now.
Yeah.
Will you be going in the water? Do you swim here?
I don't swim here, no. And you've just got to think of the thousands of people who live around the harbours. Most of us now are having to drive down to the Solent for marginally cleaner water. Made our lives here, and it's really difficult to swim in the harbours now.
But what was it that made you, the residents, decide that you had to reach into your own pockets to pay for these tests to be done?
Absolutely. Our funders and our citizen scientists were all motivated by our love of the Solent and our desire to be swimming, sailing, paddle boarding, using the water, but needing more information and more knowledge about how we could do it safely. It wasn't forthcoming anywhere else, so we rolled our sleeves up and we did it ourselves.
Fergal, if I just bring you in there, all these chemicals being found in the harbour here, are you shocked by that finding?
Not in the least, and can I just say an enormous round of applause to Sarah and everybody helping her in this. It's also, let's face it, a damning indictment of the state that government and the industry and regulations got itself into, that we have local people out here doing the job of the regulator. For me, it comes as no surprise. Clearly, government is showing complacency, if not indifference, to the plight of the environment, and water companies have proved themselves incapable of looking after it.
We're seeing lots of campaigns like yours, Sarah, around the country, local people taking action to try and raise awareness of the state of water quality. I mean, this is for both of you, really. Do you think we've reached something of a turning point? This is now a hot topic, not just here on the ground, but for politicians too.
Oh, I've yet to meet a politician that is now deeply concerned about it. It polled massively during the local elections, and we're heading into a general election. I think anybody who wants to become an MP and get elected, you're going to have to come up with a really brave, insightful answer on how you're going to deal with the water industry and fix this problem so we do not continue to poison one of the most precious sites in the country.
Well, this is for you, Sarah. I mean, the water companies are saying, OK, we apologise. We may have got it wrong in the past. It's going to take a lot of money to fix this. Are you prepared to pay in your future bills to have this sort of problem solved?
I've given them a lot of money, and so is everyone here during a cost of living crisis. They need to steward the money they've had appropriately and use it for what it should have been used for. We've got funders paying for our research and we're paying our bills.
Well, let me speak on. If the water companies had agreed to come here, they would probably be saying that money isn't in our back pockets. It's been paid out as dividends over the years. If you really want to fix this, it will cost a lot. Fergal, everyone's going to have to pay more in bills.
Well, let's try it this way round. The government and the regulators have confirmed we, the bill payers, have given them all of the money for 30 years. The water companies admit they've had the money. If they've run off with it, it's their shareholders and their investors that carry that burden. We should not actually treat the customer with even more contempt by demanding more money from them and illustrating the same contempt they treat the environment.
But to be clear about this, I mean, this is a problem that is not just about the water companies, is it? It's about a system which has developed which hasn't led to investment and enough investment to really leave us with a modern system.
Well, what it's actually all about, all of the rules and the regulations and the laws all there, what we're actually talking about is a failure of political oversight and a failure of the regulators to actually do the job as demanded of them. The question we need to ask is, what on earth were Ofwat and the EA doing? They need to be held to account.
We're running out of time. It's a horrible cliche, but do you get the feeling now that the tide has turned on this issue, that things are going to get better? Firstly, Sarah, just quickly, can you see a day when you will swim in this harbour, that it will be clean enough?
I really, really hope so, and that's what we're working for. The one thing I'd say is momentum is building. At the moment, it's been building behind the sewage issue, and our research shows this goes so much further than sewage. We need the water companies to step up and get the water truly clean, compounds, medicines, drugs and sewage, so we can all enjoy the water safely.
I think it's fair to say at this point the country is full of a righteous and furious anger, and people are right to be angry, and politicians have heard it, they know it, and they're now running frightened. Now they need to go and fix it. We can get this done. We need to do it tomorrow, not in 2050.
Virgil, Sarah, thank you so much for coming down and talking to me this morning. So we could keep on talking. It's obviously a hot topic which we're likely to hear a lot more about in the coming months ahead. How do we solve this problem, and ultimately who will end up having to pay for it? Back to you in the studio.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And as Jonah finishes there, the pictures from our drone in the skies, the juxtaposition of how beautiful things look from a distance and actually what is in the water, it really highlights that, doesn't it? You see those shots looking out over the coastline there.